of Mice and Men. Chapter 3, Part 2. Lenny came in through the door. He wore his blue denim coat over his shoulders like a cape, and he walked hunched way over. "Hi, Lenny," said George. "How do you like the pup now?" Lenny said breathlessly, "He's brown and white just like I wanted." He went directly to his bunk and lay down and turned his face to the wall and drew up his knees. George put down his cards very deliberately. "Lenny," he said sharply. Lenny twisted his neck and looked over his shoulder. "Huh? What you want, George?" "I told you you couldn't bring that pup in here." "What pup, George? I ain't got no pup." George went quickly to him, grabbed him by the shoulder, and rolled him over. He reached down and picked the tiny puppy from where Lenny had been concealing it against his stomach. Lenny sat up quickly. "Give him to me, George." George said, "You get right up and take this pup back to the nest. He gotta sleep with his mother. You want to kill him?" "Just born last night and you take him out of the nest." "You take him back or I'll tell Slim not to let you have him." Lenny held out his hands pleadingly. "Give 'em to me, George. I'll take 'em back. I didn't mean no harm, George. Honest, I didn't. I just wanted to pet 'em a little." George handed the pup to him. "All right. You get him back there quick and don't you take him out no more. You'll kill him the first thing you know." Lenny fairly scuttled out of the room. Slim had not moved. His calm eyes followed Lenny out the door. "Goodness," he said. "He's just like a kid, ain't he?" "Sure, he's just like a kid. There ain't no more harm in him than a kid neither, except he's so strong." "I bet he won't come in here to sleep tonight." "He'd sleep right alongside that box in the barn." "Well, let him. He ain't doing no harm out there." It was almost dark outside now. Old Candy the Swamper came in and went to his bunk, and behind him struggled his old dog. Hello, Slim. Hello, George. Didn't either of you play horseshoes? I don't like to play evernight, said Slim. Candy went on. Either of you guys got a slug of whiskey? I got a gut ache. I ain't, said Slim. I'd drink it myself if I had, and I ain't got a gut ache neither. Got a bad gut ache, said Candy. Them darn turnips give it to me. I knowed they was going to before I ever eat 'em. The thick-bodied Carlson came in out of the darkening yard. He walked to the other end of the bunkhouse and turned on the second shaded light. Darker'n heck in here, he said. Goodness, how that black man can pitch shoes. He's plenty good, said Slim. Darn right he is, said Carlson. He don't give nobody else a chance to win. He stopped and sniffed the air and, still sniffing, looked down at the old dog. Goodness, that dog stinks. Get him out of here, Candy. I don't know nothing that stinks as bad as an old dog. You gotta get him out. Candy rolled to the edge of his bunk. He reached over and petted the ancient dog, and he apologized. I've been around him so much I never noticed how he stinks. Well, I can't stand him in here, said Carlson. That stink hangs around even after he's gone. He walked over with his heavy-legged stride and looked down at the dog. Got no teeth, he said. He's all stiff with rheumatism. He ain't no good to you, Candy. And he ain't no good to himself. Why ain't you shoot him, Candy? The old man squirmed uncomfortably. Well, heck, I had him so long. Had him since he was a pup. I herded sheep with him, he said proudly. You wouldn't think it to look at him now, but he was the best darn sheepdog I ever seen. George said, I seen a guy in Weed that had an Airedale that could herd sheep. Learned it from the other dogs. Carlson was not to be put off. Look, Candy, this old dog just suffers himself all the time. If you was to take him out and shoot him right in the back of the head, he leaned over and pointed, right there, why, he'd never know what hit him. Candy looked about unhappily. No, he said softly. No, I couldn't do that. I had him too long. You don't have no fun, Carlson insisted. And he stinks to beat heck. Tell you what, I'll shoot him for you. Then it won't be you that does it. Candy threw his legs off the bunk. He scratched the white stubble whiskers on his cheek nervously. I'm so used to him, he said softly. I had him from a pup. Well, you ain't been kind to keeping him alive, said Carlson. Look, Slim's dog got a litter right now. I bet Slim would give you one of them pups to raise up, wouldn't you, Slim? The Skinner had been studying the old dog with calm eyes. Yeah, he said. You can have a pup if you want to. He seemed to shake himself free for speech. Carl's right, Candy. That dog ain't no good to himself. I wished somebody'd shoot me if I get old and cripple. Candy looked helplessly at him, for Slim's opinions were law. Maybe it'd hurt him, he suggested. I don't mind taking care of him. Carlson said, the way I'd shoot him, he wouldn't feel nothing. I'd put the gun right there. He pointed with his toe. Right back of the head. He wouldn't even quiver. Candy looked for help from face to face. It was quite dark outside by now. A young laboring man came in. His sloping shoulders were bent forward, and he walked heavily on his heels, as though he carried the invisible grain bag. He went to his bunk and put his hat on the shelf. Then he picked a pulp magazine from his shelf and brought it to the light over the table. Did I show you this, Slim? He asked. Show me what? The young man turned to the back of the magazine, put it down on the table, and pointed with his finger. Right there. Read that. Slim bent over it. Go on, said the young man. Read it out loud. Dear Editor, Slim read slowly. I read your mag for 6 years, and I think it is the best on the market. I like stories by Peter Rand. I think he is a wingding. Give us more like The Dark Rider. I don't write many letters. Just thought I would tell you I think your mag is the best dime's worth I ever spent. Slim looked up questioningly. What you want me to read that for? Whit said, Go on, read the name at the bottom. Slim read, Yours for Success, William Tenner. He glanced up at Whit again. What you want me to read that for? Whit closed the magazine impressively. Don't you remember Bill Tenner? Worked here about 3 months ago? Slim thought. Little guy? He asked. Drove a cultivator? That's him, Whit cried. That's the guy. You think he's the guy who wrote this letter? I know it. Bill and me was in here one day. Bill had one of them books that just come. He was looking in it and he says, I wrote a letter. Wonder if they put it in the book. But it wasn't there. Bill says, maybe they're saving it for later. And that's just what they done. There it is. Guess you're right, said Slim. Got it right in the book. George held out his hand for the magazine. Let's look at it. Whit found the place again, but he did not surrender his hold on it. He pointed out the letter with his forefinger. And then he went to his box shelf and laid the magazine carefully in. I wonder if Bill's seen it, he said. Bill and me worked in that patch of field peas. Run cultivators, both of us. Bill was a heck of a nice fella.